Trying something different. Actually, I need to move this back a little more. There we go. All right. Hey, man, yesterday I went to the doctor and no more dressings. They call it, I call it bandages. And I am so happy. It was so itchy. Itch. It's kind of itchy still. But I am jazzed. So far, that surgery has worked. I hope my microphone's working. I can't tell. But I thought I would change it up and go live way in the back. Hi, Amanda. Out in the backyard, it seems everybody wants to play in the front yard. And they got all the kids out there banging toys, and everybody's out there enjoying the day. And I thought, man, I got this big old huge backyard. I'm going to come out here and kick back in the shade. The only thing that's out here with me is the doggy, and it wants to play ball, but I'm not playing. I can't, the ground is so far away. I can't reach the ground, so no ball with the doggy today, or probably for a while. Yeah, I went to the doctor yesterday. No more bandages. I'm naked. I'm so happy. I would take my glasses off, but I think I can still see the chat. So the audio's good. March will be a real big month. Yes. In fact, I should be pretty healed up by the last couple of weeks of March, I'm hoping. I mean, so far I'm going really good. No more sciatica that I can tell. I mean, it goes off and on. But last time when we did, I have two spacers now like this on the spine. And the first one was targeted the first one was targeting the left sciatica down the nerve. And this one was targeting the right. Yeah, it's like 75 right now. 75. Tomorrow's going to be 78 or 79. And then it's going to go back to the 60s and rain, which is okay with me. But I'm enjoying this, you know. I did my little practice piece of leather today and laid down for a little bit, because sitting there, I sat there probably about 2 hours. 66. That's what it's going to be tomorrow here, around 65, 66, something like that. And no, not tomorrow. Tomorrow, 78, 79. They said 79, and I noticed today it says 78. Not much of a difference, but only the very next day it's like 66, going down to the low 60s, and it's showing about 4 days of rain. I'm sitting here looking at my roof. It needs a new roof pretty bad. I think the roof is as old as I am on that thing. But I got this big old huge backyard. I'm going to make a worm farm. I kind of want to talk about that, the worm farm thing. And I might change my mind on that knife that I was showing to give away. I found another one. It has its bone handle and about the size of a buck 119. And I'm thinking, I mean, it's still like a $39 or $40 knife, something like that. But it feels so good in the hand. I almost want to keep it. But if I feel like I want to keep it, that's when I probably want to give away to somebody, because they'll appreciate it and like it. And for anyone that wins that, you know, doesn't like that kind of thing, you can gift it to somebody. And I'm still going to put a Sasquatch on it, walking by maybe with a peace sign or waving, or what is that, this kind of thing. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to put on it. But Cold Warrior, how's it going, man? So I'm sitting in my worm farm right now, and I have some nephews and kids that are cleaning up. On the other side of this camera, it's all mowed. On the back part of this camera, it's not mowed. and there's a lot of mowing to do here. Castings is the key. That's actually the market. And what I want to do is, I talk about a lot of stuff over the years. We've talked about Bigfoot, UFOs. We actually talked about the conspiracy theories. We actually talked about what we're seeing happen today over the years. The secret societies, the people that go like this, how they tell us what they're doing in the movies and TV shows. Bigfoot, of course, Dogman, and on and on. But I have really never talked about the worm farm. Back in the day, in my what I call my old life, right? I had an old life. Good afternoon, Thelma. In my old life, I had a 20-acre ranch, and I want to share some pictures on here one day and share my ranch. I had this beautiful ranch, 20 acres. It had a mountain. It was on the house is on the side of a mountain, and it was beautiful. It had multi-level decks with a hot tub overlooking this little valley, and it had 3 mines on it, copper mines, old copper mines. I had a greenhouse that was probably 30 feet long by 20 feet wide, maybe 35 feet long, 20 feet wide, fully drip, temperature on it, fans, exhaust fans, a cooler, a swamp cooler, all of it automated. I could do whatever I wanted in there. And then about 150 yards or maybe 200 yards from my house, down into a flat area, I had a worm farm and a party area. I call it my party area because every year I would have 2 parties a year. In the spring, just around Easter, around in there, we had a Spring is Sprung party. And every year it was called a Spring is Sprung. Yeah, they're getting ready to change the clocks back too. I hope they never do it again, but we'll see. So I would have these parties, and the Spring is Sprung party, and then around a little bit, in October, the beginning of October. Hey, Bolt Gun, what's up, man? So with these parties, I paid for all the meat. Barbecue, food, beer. I had a big giant fire pit and I would get bales of hay and set it around the fire pit for like chairs. And I would ring the fire pit with these big hay bales. And I told everybody, bring your RV, bring your tent, sleep on the ground. It didn't matter. And I told everybody that it was a full weekend. I had friends that had a band, and I would bring a band. There was live music, barbecue food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the beer they could drink. I don't drink, but it doesn't mean that my friends can't, right? And I told everybody that Friday evening, everybody had to be there by midnight. I would lock the gate. So then nobody goes, nobody comes, nobody goes in and out of the gate. Everybody has to be there by Friday at midnight. Every once in a while, I would make an exception if people couldn't show up until Saturday. And then the party would begin, right? Live music all weekend, camping. I had horseshoes. I set up a 5-hole golf course, like a short iron course, like from 9-iron, pitching wedge, no putting. I would just put buckets around. Pretty far though, like with a 9-iron, you couldn't just pitch it straight to the bucket. It was usually like a 2 to, like I called it 3 par. So you would hit the off the green, off the tee. which was still a 9-iron or a pitching wedge, 8-iron. And you still had to make one more shot to get to the bucket. I mean, 20 acres is big. You could have I could have made more holes than 5 holes. In fact, I did have a driving range as well on one side of the property. We made a driving range that had like 500 yards down to this pond that I had, and nobody ever put a ball in the pond. It was way down there. It was like a 4-acre pond. But it was a lot of fun. But in that area, this flat area where I do these parties, I built these wooden 4 by 8 by 2 feet tall boxes like this. And I actually started off in totes, like storage totes. And man, there's bugs out here. What the heck? It must be spring or something, right? But I started off, and what I wanted to do was, like, I'm an entrepreneur. I've owned restaurants, several businesses, painting. I was painting way back in the day, doing security. I came out of law enforcement and started doing security and painting, and the security was fun, but it didn't make a lot of money, but the painting made him a lot of money. So I painted. So over the years, I'm entrepreneurial. I like to take risks and grow businesses, help people grow businesses, help promote people. Like if you guys have businesses, when I got in the casino, I think that's why I moved so fast up to the marketing director, through, going from like making player club cards to managing the little booth that makes the player club cards, managing the gift shop, then managing marketing as a manager, and then marketing director. But I like promoting. I like to promote. I like to help people. Mostly, I'm not so much take your ball away, go away, go. Not so much that I want to promote, or I like promoting, as much as I like to help people succeed. And so on the ranch, at our big flat area where everyone could park and camp and party, I put in a worm farm. And the whole idea was to grow. I lived on a main route to, hey, go on, here, give it to me. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Here, give it to me. This is it. This is the last throw. There she goes. I'm not doing it again, and she'll never stop. So I did that, and the idea was to grow fishing worms. And I have kids, 5 boys, and I wanted to teach my boys, like I would take them on some of my other jobs like painting, hauling. I would do cleanup. I had friends in the real estate business up in they had cabins and stuff around the lakes. So when their renters would leave, I would clean up, or if somebody was selling something and needed cleaning up and painting and stuff, I would do that. So they went with me as they were growing up, but I wanted to actually teach them the skills of business. So I started the worm farm with the goal of teaching the boys how to run a business, and also, go on, no more. Don't give me that look. Nuh-uh. No more. All right. No more. You want it one more? Give me that. Give it to me. Yeah. Here, you give me that. Go on. If you don't give it to me, I ain't playing. All right. Dang. I shouldn't have started that. Dang it. So I started it, and the idea was to teach the boys business. And we started off in a tote, like the size of an ice chest, a big ice chest. And we grew the worms, and what I found out right away was worms, they double their numbers. Like, say if you have 10 worms, in about 30 to 45 days, they become 20 to 25 worms, okay? And then in 30 to 45 days, those become 40 worms, right? At some point, it'll fill up your tub. And then every 30 to 45 days, you split the tub to 2 tubs, right? So you put half of your first tub into the second tub, and now you have 2 tubs. And in 30 to 45 days, then they're filled up, and then you split that. So then you go from 2 tubs to 4 tubs to 8 tubs. And I did that until I had enough to fill up half of a 4 by 8 by 2 foot tall box that I made, and I put a divider in the middle of it, and I put all the tubs in there. And then 30 to 45 days, I started putting manure and paper plates, paper napkins, food scraps, lawn clippings, leaves, you name it, chipped up, shredded wood. And I filled up the other side, right? So I had them in this side, and I filled up the other side. And in 30 to 45 days, I pulled the board out in the middle, separating the 2 sides, and I was off. And now that took, hey, go on, go on. Don't you bump my camera. Go on, go lay down. No, I ain't playing, go on. There she goes. Good girl. No, stay over there, go on, go lay down. You're getting me all dirty. Go on. So, sorry about that, you guys. Sorry. I shouldn't have got started with that. But it's hard to resist, right? So then, okay, so now I'm off and running. It took about 8 months, 9 months to go from 1 tub to a full box, what I call a worm bin. And then it was like, wow, we didn't eat enough to put food scraps. We didn't have enough grass clippings. I started getting 2, 3, 4 bins. When you have 4 bins, you split them. Now you have 8 bins. And you can grow as big as you want. By the end of 2 years, I had 52 bins, 52 of these bins. But before I even got to that, when I was in my first bin, the worms started segmenting and looking sick and dying. And I thought, I didn't know what was wrong with the worms, like they looked bad, and they were like segmenting and coming apart. And I didn't know much about worms at all. I knew all kinds of stuff about business, but I had no idea what I was doing with worms. How could you go wrong, right? I thought. Well, that sent me to that. We didn't have the internet, right? This is in the late 80s. So, or maybe it was the mid 90s, somewhere in there. I headed to the library, and I started learning everything I could on worms. And I found out the basic thing of life with anything, right? Any animal, and worms are animals. They're animals. They're not bugs or anything like that. But you can't live in your own excrement, right? Nothing can live in its own excrement, including worms. They have to have, they live in their food. Like I never put dirt in the bedding. You never put dirt, but I'll get into that later. But so they don't live in dirt, but they live in their food, but it can't become all castings, right? Which is their poo. And that's what was happening. The whole thing filled up and it was all poo. And then I was putting the food on top, but there was nowhere for them to live, and get away from the poo. So I found that out, and I thought, and then I also found, when I was smaller and I was not into the big bin yet, I was trying to sell worms, the bait worms, to all the local fishing places and where people buy worms, and nobody would let me nobody would let me have shelf space or sell my worms. And one day I finally asked this guy at the sporting goods up at this lake, why could, like, he would have been my best customer, you know. I mean, he was right on the lake. And I asked him, why is it that nobody will give me, and you won't give me, any shelf space? And he said it was because the guy that the worms they do sell takes care of them. If anything goes wrong, he is quick. He will take care of their problem. They never have a problem. That refunds. Whatever he would do whatever to keep their business. And he did it so well, they don't want to give anybody else a shot. Why? The guy was excellent, and he ran his business excellent. Kudos to that guy. I mean, it bummed me out, because then mostly where I was selling worms from was, I lived a mile down a dirt road, and so the main road was a mile away, and I had a little stand right there. But if I left it, one person would take all my worms. Even though I know they couldn't fish all those worms, it seemed like I was getting ripped off. I would make a couple of bucks, and then but $50 or $60 worth of bait worm cups are gone, you know. So I had to have a kid sitting there all the time, and they're not going to sit there all day. They might sit there an hour or two on Saturday, but I couldn't, like, man the place. I couldn't get anyone to man the place. So I wound up, like, still trying to figure out how to sell bait worms, but not selling very many. Some of my friends would come up and beg, you know, for them, because I had the fattest, until they got sick, I had the fattest, juiciest bait worms around, you know, catch all kinds of fish. They wouldn't drown. I bought a worm, I don't know what you call it, a breed of worm that wouldn't drown. They could live in water for several hours without drowning. And a lot of the worms, the earthworms we have around here, they drown. These were called tiger worms, and they came from Asia, so you had to keep them kind of warm. And in my climate, it's not quite as warm as Asia, but if you do the right things, you could keep them warm, right? So I had those, and my friends loved them, and I knew they would make great bait worms. But one of the things their quality of the worm breed was they ate more than other breeds. Like here in California, we have the California red worm. They call them red wigglers. They don't breed as fast. They don't eat as fast, and they drown quicker than these tigers do. Still excellent bait worms, and they're hard to kill, really hard. And I found you can't kill Mother Nature anyways. But I found out they can't live in their own excrement. So I researched some more, and I found out how to screen the worm bedding, the castings out. And I would screen those out, keeping the food that they didn't eat, and put that back in the bin. So what became the chore every 30 to 45 days was screening out the poops that they can't live in, taking whatever they didn't eat that was left still for them to process, I call it, and split that up into my bins and split the worms up until you reach the certain amount, and then you just put them all back in the same, because once they reach the number that they have to be for the area that you give them, they still breed and everything like that, but the weak ones will die off or something like that, you know, so the weakest link. But you would have full bins, but they wouldn't multiply overly too much, you know, for the thing, unless you split them, and then they'd go crazy again. So, oh man, I was off and running now. And I had a pile like 8 feet tall by 10 feet around of these, maybe it was like 20 feet. It was huge, big pile of worm poop. I had no idea worm poop was worth anything, right? So one day I had one of my parties. Fall is fell, spring is sprung, 20, 30 people, families, friends, mostly friends, and sometimes some of their friends, but it's all for fun. And, they're all at different levels. Some people rent, some people are buying homes, all different levels. So one of them came to me and he just bought a home he had built on an undeveloped lot, and he built a home, and he was eyeballing this big old pile of dirt, what he called the best looking dirt he ever saw. And what was interesting about these castings, it was made out of the nastiest stuff, right? Manure, food scraps. You never put meat waste or dairy into it, because that makes flies and everything that comes with flies, and you don't want that. The worms will eat it, but that just made a whole nother problem when you're growing them for a product. So avoid cheese, dairies, meats, don't put that in there. Anything organic, anything that once lived and died organically, plants, paper bags, paper plates, napkins, lawn clippings, leaves, food scraps like vegetables, cereals. And it could have, like, we would throw oatmeal, and when the kids would have that, and it could have some milk in it, but you don't want to put like a lot of that kind of stuff. But they'll eat it down fast enough where the maggots and stuff didn't get in there. So I had this big old pile, and one of the qualities is it's all dark brown, like the color of coffee grounds, and it's real loose and loamy, and it smells like fresh dirt. When worms poop, it smells like fresh dirt. Imagine that, man. That blew me away all the time. Like, worms grow when they eat the nastiest stuff in the world, and then it turns in, the smell is fresh dirt smell. So this guy comes to me and says, hey, can I have some of that dirt, that really good looking dirt you have over there? I want to landscape my new home. It has no landscaping, fill in some gardens, and just fix up his area. He would love to have that. I told him, as much as you want, man, much as you want. And I told him really what it is. It's not dirt, it's poop, Everybody that was sitting there listening, they're like, what? Poop, really? And some of them were interested, and I would take them around and show them the whole worm farm thing. Never interested enough to do it at their house, but interested enough to go, wow, that's interesting, especially the poop part smelling like dirt. Well, it was probably a couple of months after that, and I noticed this pile of poo is disappearing quick. And one day, it disappeared. There was none. And I don't know who all was getting it. There was people coming and getting it that I had never met before. I mean, they would ask, and they would say such and such sent them that I knew, and like, yeah, it would be the guy's neighbors, some relatives, friends, But that stuff disappeared. And I started hearing back from everybody that it was good shit. But I didn't pay attention to that, right? I didn't pay attention. So what? It's good shit. It looked pretty good, right? And it is shit, though, okay? To me, it is just a bunch of shit. That's just the way it is. So one day we're out there and we're screening the poops, the shit out, and we're piling it back in this spot on the ground. And this guy comes rumbling up my driveway, which my driveway is a good quarter mile, right, from the dirt road, where I'm a mile off the main road, and then my road coming onto my property is almost a quarter mile to get to where we are. It makes a big loop around like that, so you can see him coming, and a big old Dodge dually rumbling up the driveway, big diesel motor in it, and he backs up to the pile gets out of his truck and starts yelling at us, then don't throw that on the ground. Don't get it dirty or messing it up. Yeah, I picked up my shovel, you know, I'm like, dude, I don't know who you are, I don't know where you came from, but you better get in your truck and get out of here, because you don't come up on my property yelling and cussing me out and telling me what to do. You know, like, who do you think you are, Jack? And he's like, wait. He goes, you don't know what that is? I'm like, yeah, I do. It's just a bunch of shit. So you better, like, get in your truck and go. He's like, wait. He goes, let's talk about this. He goes, you need to learn about what you have here, you know. No, take your ball. Go on. Go lay down. Don't you go. Don't, you're going to knock my, you stupid dog. It's going to knock my camera down. So he teaches me, no, go on now. Go lay down, Bailey. Go lay down. So this guy tells me this stuff, it isn't just a bunch of shit. It's black gold. And he starts telling me it's like 4 times better than any fertilizer in the world. He grows some crop, and he could grow these plants straight in it and won't kill his plants. And he started telling me, like, unlike any other fertilizer, if he puts too much fertilizer, it'll kill his plants. But he found that this stuff, he could actually grow his plants in it and won't kill the plant, because it's Mother Nature. Something that for millions of years, the worms have been breaking down organic matter and leaving these little poops in the ground and tilling the ground, right? Like little tillers, and they make little tunnels for water and oxygen to get to the roots. And, you know, he started telling me all this stuff. I'm like, wow, you know, pretty soon I'm helping him load his truck, right? And while he's teaching me, we're not throwing it on the ground. As we're screening it out and he's helping us, we're filling his truck up, you know, and he's filling my brain and I'm filling his truck full of not shit anymore. Now it's black gold, right? And I wasn't all that cha-ching yet. I wasn't at the cha-ching thing, but I was starting. I had a greenhouse. I started all kinds of house plants. One of my businesses was I would take spider plants and pothos and different plants that are easy to start, roses, and I would propagate them in the greenhouse and propagate like 400, 500, 800 plants. And then in the spring, I could sell them to little nurseries and they would buy them up. So that was what my greenhouse was all about. And, you know, in my mind, when he's teaching me this, I'm thinking, I'm spending a lot of money on soil amendments and stuff like that in my greenhouse to propagate these plants. He's telling me the plants grow faster, they grow roots quicker, any fruits are more and bigger and juicier, you know, and I'm thinking roses, I wonder if roses get bigger, you know. So we fill him up and he leaves and we finish our job and I have quite a bit. I think we did 4 of these bins. So there's a big pile of poo, you know, that we already piled up, but I have down where my house is, or up to where my house is, in the back, I have these decks that go like from the main deck that's covered with a hot tub. Then and it's fenced, and then there's a gate with some steps that run down to another bigger deck that's not covered, and then 2 steps, and then down to another deck that's even bigger, and around the edge of that deck I have planters all on drip, and I would put flowers and stuff in it. And then on the ground I had little trails and paths down in the mountain there with places to sit, and I had different roses, like in the middle where the path would go around like this. In the middle, I would have big roses, tall bushes, and then smaller ones, and then littler ones next to the path, all on drip. And some of them in the oak trees that I had around my house, I would plant climbing roses, different varieties of climbing roses, and these are the ones that I would use to root and propagate in the greenhouse that I would sell. And I had all kinds of different roses, and anybody could order, like nurseries. Once I started doing business, they would order 300 of this variety, 500 climbers or whatever. And I can't remember all the names anymore. I used to know them. And what I started by, I got my wheelbarrow out and filled it up with worm castings, and then went down to my house and I put a shovel full of worm castings on each rose. And it was probably around this time of the year when I was doing that, around March. By April, by May, I noticed, now they're all on drip, so all I did was put it where the little sprinklers would hit it. Hi, Dayanara and Amanda. Yeah, a lot of worms. I put the castings where I had these little sprinklers, little bitty drip sprinklers that would come on. I had them set for 3 times a day for about 2 minutes, right? And it would do every day. I had it shut off at night, and I had, I don't know, 10 zones on that section. And each one would water at different times. But I didn't have to water, so I put the castings in the zone of where the water would go through the castings and into the root system. And in about a month, I would say 4 to 5 weeks after putting the shovel full of castings on these roses, the roses when spring came, the roses were huge, like maybe they made a rose like this big. Now the roses were like this big, like big, and there was twice as many roses on the plant, and the leaves are getting green. And I also noticed I always had a problem with aphids on the roses, and I was always battling that. The roses I had with the castings on it resisted the aphids. And here I am making up soap water and all kinds of stuff to fight the aphids naturally, organically, right, without chemicals. And it was a constant battle. After I got all of them with castings on them, I never had an aphid problem again. That became a selling point later. These roses, like the ones climbing up in the trees, they branched off. I had a canopy going from tree to tree of all these roses intermingling. Beautiful smell all over the place. It was amazing. I never seen anything like it. People would come over and they'd be like, we'd be sitting in the hot tub and barbecuing and then do the hot tub thing, and these people would be like, oh my God, it smells so good around here. And you're like, look at these beautiful roses. What do you do to them? I never said a word. Like, I didn't say. That was my secret. In fact, one of the ways, the best way to become wealthy is have different streams of income coming to you, right? The best way to be successful in a business is have different product lines, different things, So what I did was I made a garden mix, a potting soil mix, a rose mix, a tomato mix, and what I did, I went in my greenhouse and I played around with all the things that I used to use, soil amendments, and I mixed up my own batch of things, and I tried it on tomatoes and roses and bell peppers, and I found out, and then general purpose potting mix, right? General purpose. And I created all these different products out of worm castings, and all of it was the same thing. And basically, like, my main general purpose, just if I gave you a bunch of castings, what I would tell you is get some potting soil from the local hardware store or nursery and mix 3 parts of soil to 1 part of castings, and that would be ultimate mix for any kind of plant, anything, right? I mean, it could be your vegetables, it could go on trees, it could go anything, right? You could spread it out on your lawn. I mean, it was amazing stuff. Hi, Ivy. So I never sold another worm as bait. I bet you can guess that, right? I never sold another worm for bait. But I did sell starter worm farms for anywhere from $750 to $1,500. And that came with my expertise at, I'd have a little booklet, basics, how to get going, different markets you could try, what to feed them, troubleshoot if they started segmenting and falling apart, or they started trying to escape out of their bedding, some of the reasons why, right? And so I would sell them that way, and I would start little worm farms. And I started several, I don't know, a bunch of people. I had people coming from all over California, South California, LA, San Diego, all over. People from the mountains, the Bay Area, Northern California. If today, like today, I'm looking at the marijuana industry. Huge, right? They don't know. They have no idea. And I have some ideas I'm not going to share on here because I'm not going to give everything away, because I have some ideas on hydroponic and drip systems using castings and how to do it and different things, right, to make money. So not only now I'm going to branch out from castings, straight castings in a bag for this much amount, mixes for the different things, general potting soil, all that. And now I'm going to go into the liquid side of it and see about if I can't break into drip irrigation. And one thing I will say is the castings will go further if you're turning it into some kind of liquid tea or shit tea or whatever. But yeah, so that's why this is why I want to do the earthworm farm. And it's been a long hot minute since I've done anything, and physically I still can't do it, but I have some nephews and stuff like that. And right before I got hurt and lost everything, when the doctor said oops, that he made a mistake in the procedure, and it put me in a wheelchair overnight. Like, one minute you're on top of the world and you have everything and you're enjoying life, the next minute you're butt level with everyone and you lost everything and you don't know what you're going to do. So that was like 25 years ago. The worm farm, just to give you an idea of a monthly amount and I don't know why my kids didn't pick this up. Even my friends, they all knew. I don't know why they didn't grab onto this and run with it. I have no idea still. I was averaging around 11,000 a month. 10,000, like the least amount would be 9,000, and the most was probably around 13,000. Averaging 11,000 something. Like in the winter, it would go down to like 9,000, and it was only because the worms slow down in the winter time. They don't, like when I was saying 30 to 45 days you would split them out. Well, in the winter time, it's like more like 45 days, right? Or maybe even 2 months. In the summer, it's faster. It could be a month. It could be like 3 weeks that they'll eat that all down, depending on if you know how to take care of them. But the potential of what you can make is a lot. Like, think 10,000 a month, and feeding them free stuff. Free. Lawn clippings are free. All your food scraps are free. You could go to coffee shops like the little coffee places. They just do coffee and buy a big rollaway garbage cans, and you give them you set the garbage can there and you tell them for free. See, right now they're paying the garbage man to take all their coffee grounds, but I would drop a big rollaway garbage can there, and I would tell them, I'll do that. I'll be here when you have it done, you set it right here on the corner, and I'm going to be driving by every day when that's ready. And I would drive around in my big Chevy dually, and I would have all these empty rollaway garbage cans, and I would drive around and I would see they would have it in the spot to be picked up. I would roll over there, load it on the truck, drop an empty. It was free, except for gas and my time. The food for the worms is free. I did the same thing with people that have horses, because one of the best things, it was like candy to worms, is horse shit. They love it, right? They absolutely love it. So I went to the people around where I lived up there, and I didn't want it right on the ground. I wanted people that had stalls, and they mix it with straw. It'd have straw in it, and wood chips and horse poop. But they would clean their stalls out, and I would drop as many of the little rollaway garbage cans. And I told them, when you have them full, you just bring them out and set them at your gate, and I'll come along. Nobody's gonna steal that shit. Believe me, nobody's stealing that shit. They won't even steal it to get the can, right? Nobody's stealing the shit. So as I was driving around every day, I'd make my rounds. Anybody that had their can sitting out, same thing as the coffee, pick that up, drop some empties, all free. And I could feed 52 bins like this. I was getting to the point where I was thinking about, they have where they rent stalls for horses, people that have big properties and they rent stalls. They have like 100 horses, 100 stalls and paddocks and stuff like that. I was getting to the point where they have like piles of horse manure as big as a house out there. And they would let me have it for free. And I was going to start renting big truck, or find somebody with a dump truck. And they would load the truck. They have loaders. That's how they get it out there, right? If you bring your truck, they'll load it for free. And then I would pay to have, I was right at the point where I would have somebody go pick that up, pay them for their truck and time, get filled up with horse poo, bring it back to my place and dump it. And I was right at that point when I got hurt. And I had also made a deal, signed a contract with Home Depot. And the start of the contract would be that I was going to have X amount of pallets with X amount of different kinds of casting mix, general purpose, garden mix, stuff like that. And they wanted, I think they wanted 3 pallets of 90 bags each every 90 days for 7 stores. And every time I delivered that, it would be $490,000. That was back then, 25 years ago. So I've been sitting on this for 25 years. I thought it was over. I thought I didn't have a chance in hell of doing any of this stuff because I was in a wheelchair. Couldn't walk, terrible pain. But things are looking different. I mean, after this surgery, when I realized I wasn't going to have any sciatica on the right or the left, I still won't be able to carry big, heavy things. But it's easier to motivate and get people going when you can get around, right? If you're rolling up in a wheelchair and you're not doing absolutely anything, it's hard to keep people motivated. They're like, look at that dude sitting in the shade sipping on his lemonade. and I'm over here busting my ass and sweating my butt off, right? It's hard to get people motivated like that. But if you're out there and you're doing something, anything, and you're out there sweating and busting, your butt a little bit, and they already know that's about all you can do, but you're not afraid of work, it's easier to motivate people. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. This is my plan. I hope I didn't bore all you guys to death talking about this shit, the worm shit. But only that's what I'm gonna do. And I have a membership thing on my channel and I thank you guys that have joined it. I haven't done anything with it yet. Kind of hard. I came up with this plan. Behind me, I want to build a shop for leather, to do leather work, because I'm not going to stop doing that either. But they're expensive now, and the membership that I have, I'm putting all that money away, and it's for that. I'm saving it. I haven't gotten anything from YouTube yet, because you have to make $100 to get paid. So once you reach $100, then they pay you. I haven't reached, I think I'm at $65 or something. So I'm almost there. But that money that YouTube gives me is going to go into a savings account, and I'm putting it towards a shop. And also, as I do the worm farm, I know it's going to take me a few months, maybe the end of summer, before I'm even making, because back in the day when I had the tubs, each tub is about $300 a month. Yeah, before I got into these big bins, it was about $300 a month. So if I can get 10 bins going and I think I'm going to buy the worms bulk. When I first started, the first time I started with a pound of worms, which is about 10,000 worms, and a little ball about like that big of worms, and I grew out from there, and I've killed millions of worms over my time learning this stuff. I won't kill any worms this time, and I think I'm going to order like enough to fill up 3 tubs. So my start is going to be like 3 tubs. I don't know how much they are a pound right now, but probably about 3 to 4 pounds is what I'm going to buy, maybe 10 pounds. So I'm going to kickstart myself past that first 6 months or so, that when I first started the first time, and get a little bit quicker into these bins. And I think I'm only going to do like back here, probably about 10 bins. That's it. So, I'm not going to make no 10 grand a month, but maybe I can make like 3,000 a month, or, 3 to 5,000 a month, something like that. And then I have some ideas, like I was telling you about the hydroponics and the liquid and stuff like that, which I think is more lucrative. And I may be able to build that up to nearly 10,000 a month with everything included. So what I make in the worms, as I start making money on it, that also is going to go into my fund to build the shop for the leather thing. And well, thank you. I hope that and what I'm going to do, with this, I'm gonna make recorded videos of how I do the worm farm, and some of it is only going to be for the members only. The members only are going to get inside track stuff and more secrets. I'll be pretty general on, like what's the known knowledge on the main channel, and I'll still talk about Bigfoot, and I'll still talk about Dogman and UFOs and what's going on in the world. That's so interesting, right? But and in my memberships, I'll have more inside, like what they call it, inside baseball type knowledge, right? Inside more, and I'll have more lives, because I'm not going to do as many lives on my YouTube channel. It'll start being recorded, and all the lives are going to go to the membership thing, because I have to give the people that are helping me finance a shop something. And I came up with the idea before I did the back surgery, right before, and then I did the back surgery. I haven't really given it much thought, but while I'm recuperating, I gave it more thought on what could I do, and I sure appreciate you guys. You guys have no idea. I came from a really dark place. When I started the YouTube channel and got with Jeff and all that, I came from a really dark place. I was depressed. I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair. But with you, because I like I like creating things and doing things, and I've always loved cameras and videos. I've been around the world with a camera. One day I'll share all my Africa adventures and other places. Like Africa was my most favorite one, but I went other places with the camera and did all kinds of things, movie stars, you name it. I've been everywhere, you know, dinner with Kenny Rogers and his wife and Merle Haggard, you know, I mean, like there's a bunch of stuff that I could talk about, but mostly that will be in my membership. And I'll go live and we'll talk about these things. I will relate to it in my main channel, but only the really good juicy stuff's going to be in the membership, because they're actually helping me, and I appreciate it. But I know everyone, even if you can't afford a membership, I understand that, because I'm right now in a position where I can't afford things like that. And if you can't afford it, don't do it. Don't do it just to hear the juicy stuff. I will share some things, like I think like how because I can't afford memberships and stuff like that, and I watched follow other people that do this kind of thing. After a certain amount of time that it's in the membership thing, then I'll premiere it on my main channel. But all my members will have a chance to see it and peruse and do it, you know. Gary Wayne? I haven't heard of that. I'll look it up though. But that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. No, actually, it's my plan, but only it's not set in stone, okay? The worm farm is set in stone. But how I do everything, that is going to be evolving, and you have to be, in order to be successful, you don't make a plan and then stick like a hard line to it. You have to be able to bend and move and dip and bob and weave, you know. In order to be successful at anything, you have to be adaptable, right? You have to, as situations come up, you have to be able to dodge and move and, move and advance, and you have to be able to back off, all kinds of stuff. So that's how I'll be doing this. But general roadmap I just gave you of how it's going to go, and then I'm going to be bobbing and weaving and ducking and advancing as you go, and you'll see that all, and I'll share that too when I have to adapt or stop doing something or start doing something different. That's going to be part of the content of everything, and that's just life, you know. People that aren't good at that, those are the ones that are couch potatoes and they don't have much of a life. And I hope that I could be, I don't know what the word is, but helpful to those that they have a bleak outlook. Like mine was bleak. Where I came from was a dark little corner in my room playing video games, hating life because I was in so much pain, thinking everything was over. I did not think I had a future beyond what I was doing in that little dark corner. And one day, after about 5 years of that, I decided, you know what, there has to be more. There has to be more. Even though I was in a wheelchair, how much of the world can I enjoy in a wheelchair, in a power chair? And I started taking off and calling the local bus service that picks you up at your house, and they load you on and you go places, and when you're done, they bring you home. I started doing that. And then I started rolling down to the bus line, right? And get on the bus and go all over. And I started realizing that I could do all kinds of stuff with a wheelchair. I would still be in pain. There was and I would overdo it, and there was days I would overdo it, and then I would be down for a week or 3 days or 2 days, sometimes a month. I would get really ambitious, you know. But I want to help people. Man, I still have pain from the RSD, but the sciatica, when you pile on all these different pains, yeah boy, you know, getting the sciatica, that's a hard pain, real hard. And on both sides, I still have a backache. I still have burning pain in this leg, but it doesn't seem like it hurts as much. Like maybe some of that was nerve pain too. I don't know. Maybe that will heal too. I don't know, you know. It does. I feel like a whole new person. You could tell, I guess, by the way I'm talking, right? I'm making all these goals and stuff. And but I want to help people that have no, they feel like that's it. Life's over. And I'm just going to ride it out right here. And I'm going to sit here and let my muscles atrophy and let life go by. And I know there will be some that they think they can't do anything and that's where they'll be at. But hopefully there's some that will be encouraged by watching me tackle this. And maybe they won't go as far as I went, but anything's better than sitting there and letting situations rule you, you know, let pain rule you. Let your disability rule you. Don't listen to the people. Don't listen to the doctors, you know. You're right, Amanda. It took me a while to learn that. I mean, I was mourning my old life. Like, how do you go from a 20-acre ranch with everything, you know, everything, money, a great job, a great family, a great place to live. A lot of my friends I thought were my friends. When I lost all that, they weren't my friend. They only liked me because of what I had. I had free tickets to the games, concerts, you know, a great party ranch, free food, free band, you know, go camp, play golf and horseshoes and all this stuff. They only liked me for what I brought to the table that way. But when that was all gone, they're like, "Hey, dude, that's it." They don't come visit me. They don't spend time with me. Some do, but not very many. It was amazing how fast everybody went away. And then I learned also I might have drove some of them away, because when you get in that much pain and your outlook isn't very good, you complain, and you complain about your pain, and you need somebody's ear, you need somebody to talk to. So not many want to sit there. So that, you know, after you do that for a while, you would see somebody coming and they would see you, and all of a sudden, and they would turn around and run, because they don't want Debbie Downer, you know, Eeyore. So they're like, whoa, get out of here, you know. And so a lot of it we do our own self. We drive people away just by whining, you know. And I know that, and I'm not blaming anyone. It's me, but I'm not gonna dwell on that at all. Like, quit dwelling on the negative, quit dwelling on what could have been or woulda, shoulda, couldas or whatever. Let's set our sights on what can we do today, you know, what can we do coming in the future? How far can we go? Let's figure something out. Let's enjoy something for a minute, you know. Let's lose the loser stuff and start trying to make good memories that we can think back on in 5 years or 10 years. Or let's make new relationships. Let's not complain at everybody. Let's understand if they're complaining and be the shoulder for them, you know. I just hope that this little experiment that I'm going to do right now helps somebody. If it doesn't, that's okay. If it does, that's great, you know. But that's my spiel. I've been on here for a while. I don't even know, about an hour, talking to you guys. I could talk a whole nother hour though, but my back is starting to hurt. You could tell I was leaned back. Now I'm sitting forward. I'm still not healed yet, but only thank you guys so much. You guys have no idea what you've done for me, and you guys are the greatest thing on earth to me. Is you guys so supportive and stick with me when I'm complaining, stick with me no matter what. You guys are really great. So that's it. I'll be back really soon with more. I think next time I'm gonna talk about knives. One of the other thing I never talked about, one of my hobbies ever since I was 5 years old, but I'll look into Gary Wayne. I'm glad you reminded me because I was gonna forget that. You know, you might if you might message that to me, the Gary Wayne thing, or if you have a link or something, or put it in the comments if you can't do that. But anyways, guys, I shall see you soon. I pray God blesses you in every area of your life. Healings. I pray healing. Backs healed, sciatica healed. I pray every part of your body get in line with the word of God and be healed in Jesus' name. Your finances line up with the word of God. We are his kids. That's our inheritance. I pray that our inheritance on you in Jesus' name. I love all of you, and I shall see you soon. Okay, Amanda. Thank you, guys. You guys have a good one now, and I'll see you maybe Saturday. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. It'll be 78. I might come back tomorrow. All right. Take it easy, guys.